Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I will be discussing my top 5 most underrated Star Wars authors. Now, I should preface this video by saying that this is my list, just my personal list. I know other people are going to have other authors that they love and find underrated and all that stuff, and that's totally fine. This is just my personal list. Second of all, this is my underrated authors list. This is not my list of favorite authors. In fact, of the authors on this list, only one of them made it into my top 5 favorite authors. I'm just saying that these are people that are not really held in quite the same high esteem as their peers, and these are people that I think should be in the conversation. Typically, I'm going to say that the top ones who are held in the highest esteem are people like Timothy Zahn, Claudia Gray, James Luceno, and maybe Matt Stover gets thrown in there and a few others. And well-deservingly, there's total reason why they are. And the first 3 I mentioned, Zahn, Luceno, and Claudia Gray, they're all in my top 5 favorite Star Wars authors, so I get why they're very popular. But these other authors, I think, should be in the conversation of really good Star Wars authors. Sometimes these authors' books don't sell as well, and I think they should be selling better because I think they're quite excellent as authors. So, to begin with, the first author I will discuss is Kevin J. Anderson, and I will use one book per author as my kind of like visual aid. So my visual aid for him is his book Lightsabers that he wrote with his wife, Rebecca Mesta. But Kevin J. Anderson has a work ethic that I really appreciate. I've heard him talk in panels before, and he basically said that you can't have writer's block as a professional writer. Amateur writers, people who just write and then turn in their novels and hope to get published, they can do that because they're not on deadlines. But professional writers, people who write tie-in fiction, have to get their books done. So Kevin Anderson, he writes the next book and writes the next book and keeps writing, and it's just what he does. And he has such a prolific pace that's very impressive. But that's not necessarily what I'm referring to. I'm referring to his actual Star Wars books. He wrote, as far as I understand, when it comes to prose, I know he wrote 4 novels, the Jedi Academy trilogy, the novel Darksaber. He wrote the 14 books of the Young Jedi Knights series with his wife Rebecca Mesta, and then he also wrote edited the Tales of books for Tales of Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales of Jabba's Palace, and the Tales of the Bounty Hunters. So he has an extensive breadth of Star Wars books that he's written, and that's not even going into his comics. He's written a lot of comics. But what I like about him is he brings fun into his Star Wars books, particularly with his young adult books, but also with his adult books. He just has this sense of, oh my goodness, I get to put this stuff in Star Wars. But he also has such deep themes. In the Lightsabers book in particular, the Jedi Padawans are practicing with their lightsabers, and these are kids, and one of them accidentally cuts off the hand of another character, and rather than just put a robotic hand back on, Kevin and Rebecca Mesta, they made the decision, no, we're going to keep her only one-armed, and we're going to have her live through that and adapt and become better. And it pays off later on in the series, that decision-making. And they had great groundwork for the character relationships and the character dynamics and the world building. And Kevin Anderson just has this sense of understanding the adventure that Star Wars should be. And his other books have this sense of adventure too. And that's why he's on my number 5 most underrated authors. My number 4 on my list is an author who, as of this moment, only has 1 book published, but she has more books coming. That makes me excited. And that is Zoraida Cordova. She wrote one novel, A Crash of Fate. She also wrote a short story for the collection Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark. But this is her one and only book that she's written herself, which is A Crash of Fate. It is a young adult novel. And I'll begin by saying this. I do not like YA. As a whole, I am bristled by reading any YA. I've really struggled to read the Star Wars YA novels. However, there are a few that I think are excellent, that I think are just such great reads. And one of them is this book, A Crash of Fate. I like romance, but I like romance that's told in adult novels typically, as opposed to the type of romance told in YA. But the way that Zoraida Cordova writes the relationships of the two characters in this book is just something else. She has, similar to Kevin Anderson, she has the sense of fun in the books, but she also she has a lot of world building. This takes place on Batuu, Galaxy's Edge, from Disneyland, but it's in universe. And the way that these characters, the whole love story takes place over the course of one day. And you'd think, oh, that's too cheesy. That's not realistic. That can't happen. It works in this book, and I was blown away by it. And I really like, I've listened to her interviews. I like the style with which she comes from. And so I really appreciate her writing. She has a new High Republic novel coming, which has me very excited, getting fresh blood in the High Republic series. And so I cannot wait to see what she does there. And so I think that she's one of my number 4 most underrated Star Wars authors. My number 3 most underrated Star Wars author is someone who has quite an extensive amount of work. And for a while, he held the record for the most adult novels written in Star Wars. That prize was taken by Timothy Zahn a few years ago. But the first one goes to Aaron Allston. He has 13 Star Wars novels that he's written. He had the record for quite a while. And his books, he has 5 books in the X-Wing series, the Wraith Squadron trilogy, Starfighters of Adumar, and the last X-Wing book, Mercy Kill. And then he also has 3 books in the Fate of the Jedi series, 3 books in the Legacy of the Force series, and 2 books in the New Jedi Order series. And he is one of the funniest Star Wars authors I've ever read. The way that he's able to have just deadpan jokes in the middle of an intense scene. It's kind of the way Marvel does their humor, but I think that his is like in-universe humor, and it works really well. A lot of people find Yub Nub as a joke, like because of his books, not just because of the episode 6. And so I highly enjoy all of his books that I read. He does not have the plotting expertise as a whole that I would say someone like Troy Denning had. Troy Denning is really good at planning big epic stories. But still Aaron Allston did quite a good job with his books. It's very sad that he died, because it would have been great to get more books from him in the canon if he had that opportunity. But my favorite book of his is one of the New Jedi Order books, and what he did with making his books kind of mirror World War II battles is just incredible. And the way that you can follow like the events happening, and you see him grow the rebellion in those books is just very impressive. Few authors are able to show what I want to see with the growth of the rebellion. Some authors try to do it and some fail, but he gets it right. And so he has fun, he has adventure, he has humor, he has some very good deep themes in some of his Legacy of the Force books, and then of course he has great plotting in the New Jedi Order books, and so that's why he's my number 3. My number 2 author I will discuss here is a newer author as well. She has 2 books in the Star Wars canon, and I hope that they do more with her, and that is Delilah Dawson. And she wrote Phasma, and then she wrote Black Spire, and then she's written some comics and short stories and stuff, but as a whole, those are her 2 books. And in my opinion, Delilah Dawson is the best plotter in all of Star Wars. Like the way she formats the plots in Phasma and in Black Spire, I was blown away by. I'll say I don't think her characterization is there yet. I don't think she has great characterization, which is why she hasn't made it onto my favorite authors list. And also she hasn't had as many opportunities as the other authors on that list. But her plot is so good it gets her in contention, and people bought Phasma because it was part of the Journey to the Forces Away, Journey to the Last Jedi. They bought Phasma because we wondered if Phasma was going to be big, and also it was just a big marketing event. Black Spire really wasn't a big marketing event. It just kind of dropped. People bristled at the idea of a Galaxy's Edge related book, which I understand that, but Star Wars as a genre is a tie-in genre. It is its job is to tie into different products, to sell, to make money, to sell things. And so I'm okay with it doing that, and I think that this makes me appreciate Galaxy's Edge more. I want to go to Galaxy's Edge now so that I can see the events, see the places described in this book, and you can meet the main character, Vi Marati. You can meet her in Galaxy's Edge when you visit. I think that's amazing. That is brilliant. So I love her plotting. I really want her to get more opportunities so that she can grow her writing, and she can make it onto some other lists. Del Rey has kept her for other projects, which I haven't loved all of her other Del Rey projects, but they've kept her on as a writer. So I just hope that the Star Wars side of Del Rey brings her back again. And that's my number 2. Now, my number 1 most underrated author is also my number 1 favorite author, because I am a huge fan of his, and I think that he does not get the recognition that he should get in the fandom, and that is John Jackson Miller. John Jackson Miller wrote several novels for Star Wars. He wrote Knight Errant. He wrote the Lost Tribe of the Sith short story collection. He wrote Kenobi, and then he wrote A New Dawn. Kenobi, in my opinion, is the best, not only Star Wars novel, but is the best piece of media tie-in fiction out there. It is just great genre storytelling, mixing the Western tropes with the sci-fi themes, telling a story of kind of depression and of being alone. What is a Jedi supposed to do when they're alone? That book alone is worth it. But the way he does things, similar themes in A New Dawn, the way he's able to take those themes in Knight Errant, in Lost Tribe of the Sith, he's great at themes, he's great at plotting, he's great at everything he does in Star Wars. And he's also written a ton of comics. He wrote over 50 issues of the Knights of the Old Republic comic. And I've read some of those, and those are great. And he's also written many short stories and novellas, and he contributed to the Canto Bight novella collection, and he had the best novella there. And so he is just not talked about in the major circles when people make their top 5s generally, and I think he should get more books. Please, if anyone on this list you have to give more books to, please give John Jackson Miller more books, because they've all been great, and I love every one of them, and I will be there minute 1 of day 1 if one of his books releases. I will read it that day. I love his books. So he's my number 1 most underrated Star Wars author. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Do you have a 5 or even 3 or 1 author who you think is underrated? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel. I have lots of Star Wars and other content coming out, and that's already come out. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.